Hey, it is Sunday, August 3rd, 2025. Man, we are keeping it consistent thanks to Griff DeLong, one of our producers, going, you got to be consistent with them, Chaz. So I'm trying to be consistent. We got two today. So today is a one-on-one with one of my guests named CJ Newton. CJ, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am very well. Thank you so much. Listen, dude, I mean, I've been pushed of like, this guy, you got to get on. This guy, you got to get on. He's doing great things in Knoxville and doing his thing. So describe to everybody what you're doing.
Yeah, so I think in a short term, I make sports into stories. I think that's like the very short, condensed version. Started my own marketing business 7 months ago, I think, as of yesterday. And then I think for the greater part of 7 years now is when I started. I started in 10th grade and just started filming sports, started doing the whole, let's just go out and film basketball games, football games, and see what happens throughout high school. And it kind of just ramped up and kept going. And then now I'm here with 3 contractors that are all over the place for me. And it's pretty fun to see just how it's unfolded over the years.
Yeah, I've been watching your stuff on social media. And then we have somebody in common, Jesse Smithy, that he did a podcast with me 2017. And then, with all the people that I've trained, he was like, dude, you got to start doing your own podcast. So I was like, all right, let's start doing it. And that's how I met Ben, our Burt Reynolds lookalike. What up, Ben? Yeah. And then we just started doing it from there. And then you happened to come in when I was training a couple basketball girls and you had to shoot a video for them.
Yep.
So tell me about that journey, like sophomore in high school compared to somebody else that goes a different route. How did you know you wanted to do something like this?
Sure, I think it was kind of just like banking on myself the whole time. Like I think I played basketball my whole life, and I really didn't have any other like path in mind besides basketball. And then sophomore year hit, I was doing mission trip videos for my church. So I had a camera, got that Christmas, did it for my church. We went to Utah, did a video for that. Went to North Carolina, which we did every year, made a video for that, and it was kind of like, all right, I have this in case I ever need it, but I never thought about sports at all. And then my sophomore year, basketball hit, my Achilles got hurt. Wasn't to a point where I tore it or anything, but she was like, hey, let's stay off of it for a little bit. And my best friends, Jennifer Sullivan and Bailey Burgess, they played at King's Academy, who are now balling out in college. But they were like, hey, just come video our high school team. So went over, videoed a few games, and then they posted the highlights that I look back and I can't even watch those anymore. But it's cool just to see from that. And then that summer, BMA's Elite, which is one of the top AAU programs in the Southeast, all the top names from this area usually play for them. Went with them that summer, and I probably give a lot of credit to Bobby Mays to where I'm at now, just based off of all the players he had, all the exposure I got from it, everything he did for me. And we don't work together anymore. But for that stage of my life, it really pushed me to the next level, I think, in this area in terms of the exposure it gave me. And then from there, senior year hit, and that's all about your college decision. Like, what are you going to do with your next stage in life? And that was kind of weird for me because that's when I really started to travel for all these elite high school tournaments. ESPN's high school side contracted me out that year. So I did all their Geico Nationals, which is their big high school event, and then all their AAU travel stuff. So I was traveling. Our admin at my school didn't really see it as a job, so I kept getting unexcused absences. I ended up being truant my senior year, so I had to do summer school, whole ordeal. But
I love that.
So that happened, and then it kind of was at a point where I was making a little bit of money my senior year, but it was like, what could happen if I just went all in on it? And like, if I didn't have to do school 24/7, and if I could literally just like video every day of my life, basically was like the thought as a senior in high school. So don't do college. Was thinking about doing the Pellissippi state route for 2 years. Decided to not do that. And that first year out of high school, my good mentor of mine, Link Hudson, he's the former head of VFL Films at University of Tennessee, their whole video department. And he was like, hey, would you be interested in coming and shooting for our men's basketball program here at Tennessee? I was like, is this a dream? Yeah. So like did that in a heartbeat. And then just with how it worked out, the timing of when he left and the people that filled his roles, it wasn't, I guess, what was supposed to be the plan in his eyes and my eyes and everything. So it was a 1-year stunt. I learned a tremendous amount of things that I would not be here today if it wasn't for those things I learned there in terms of professional, how to approach a business, how to approach a person in a professional conversation. Learned all those things, and especially the technical side of video production and how to actually plan out a video, storyboard, all that jazz. And then did freelance for 2 years and started Newton Creative 7 months ago.
Okay.
That's very short, condensed, just gibberish.
I'm working on a podcast now that I'm listening to where a guy deliberately, you guys would love this, we could talk about this on our show coming up, is like the guy deliberately was working at McDonald's at $3.75 an hour as a high school student, but then college kids got like $6.75. So he was like, all right. So he blew everybody away and said, I'm going to get my GED. And everybody thinks GED's for losers, right? And he goes, and he blew the myth away to go to college to get his GED. So I think a freshman or sophomore in high school, he did that. And he was like, I'm going to prove to people that you don't need that or you don't need that. So
sure.
Yeah, I applaud you on that. That's kind of cool.
It's definitely cool. And it's also like, I think it's just a story of like, I think anyone can accomplish what they want if they just put their mind to it. And I think that's super like cliche, obviously, but like the more you just dream big is like a thing that's super also cliche, but a super common theme. And I think that's it was on my whiteboard in my room for 7 years, just dream big. And it was always a thing, like small private school, everyone just went to Yale or whatever, some big schools. And I never really fit that mold ever. Just CP classes my whole life. Never did any AP or honors. And I think it was just always, especially the people I was always around athletes who were always striving to be Division I athletes or Division II athletes. So in my head, I was like, okay, I'm not going to be that. But in my realm, in my profession, how can I make it the biggest thing possible, or how can I reach the biggest stage possible? So that's kind of always the motivation behind it.
Yeah, that's what Griff and I talk about all the time, and Griff sends me these things of, Griff, what's that one Instagram we talk about where it goes, the line, I was talking to Ashlyn about it today, where the line to this window is real long.
Oh, yeah.
And the line,
Making change. And then...
it's like two people on this side, and I think you really do have the land of misfits in this kitchen right now. Yeah. We're not out back with Petrone right now. We're sitting in the kitchen of my house, which is phenomenal. But
weather had different plans.
Yeah, and it was cool. And how it all worked out is Ross hadn't been around for this, but like Griff forgot his lens off the camera, and then he's like, it's 25 minutes to South Knoxville. I'm like, and back? That'd be 50.
Yes.
Mr. Magician.
We would not be doing this.
So and then CJ just happened to have, I called him, he's like, I have nothing in my car, and then all of a sudden he was like, I have one in my car. So that's how God works. That's what, yeah.
Day in, day out.
Yeah, so that's amazing. So it's funny you talk about Bobby Mays, because I worked with Bobby, for years with the basketball guys, and I always was like, because if people don't know, he played at the University of Tennessee, but I was a huge Iverson guy and tried to get him to train back in the 90s with Pat Croce, who was the GM for the Sixers at the time, with Iverson. And when I met him, I'm like, dude, you look so much like Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
And he brought me all those all the guys that were living with him and putting those teams together. And I'm surprised we haven't crossed paths before that. So I've been watching your stuff, and it's really cool to see a whole different route of like, I know your walk with Christ is huge. Yeah. So how did you hear something about like, did you listen? I mean, it is, discernment and obedience to that of like, I'm going to go this different route and probably get, my teeth kicked in of not going to college and not doing these things. And how did you stay convicted with it?
Yeah, I think a lot of my life has been built on relationships and the people that have been just put by God in different situations around my life. And my parents have done a phenomenal job at raising me. Like I think Concord, the education is one thing, but the people that you are automatically surrounded into your life is the best thing that probably happened for me at a young age, especially being there first grade all the way on. I think once I got on that journey, once I figured out like, hey, this is something that I like really want to do, I think it was a thing that was also the strongest point of my faith in my life, because I was always like, all right, God, what's next? What's the next stage? Like, where are we going to go from here? And then it was also, I think, a very big point with all of it is, if you're not in the word and if you're not strong in your faith, then it's really hard to get a discernment for what is right in God's eyes. If you're not living it every day, and if you're not trying to put that into your body in your everyday life. So I think that was something that really helped. And I honestly don't think that would have been, I don't think I would be here today if God wasn't also so strong in my life so early on. The Pfeiffer family, it's my God family, and it's the group that I went to North Carolina with every year, and it was their church, and we went to Utah and everything, but they were so huge in my life early, because there are 3 kids, Noah, Paul, Josiah. They all went to high school with me, and those 3 were probably the biggest spiritual motivators in my life at an early age. And they all were like, dude, screw the whole college thing. Like, if it's not for you, go on this path. And if you think this is really what God has for you, it'll work out. And if not, God will always provide. And God will always change directions. And I think he will give his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. I think that's what the saying is. I don't know. But it's something that I think when early, I got a lot of criticism, not just through friends, but through even direct family sometimes, because a lot of my direct family was car business. I mean, that's all it is. So my uncle started his own car dealership. My grandfather did the car business for 50 years, still kind of doing it. My dad was in the car business. My parents met through the car business. So when I said, hey, I'm not going to do the car business, I'm not going to do college at all. So that was kind of a hit to them at first, and took a little bit of, I had to convince them a little bit and actually put the proof behind what I was doing for them to kind of get on board. But once I actually showed what I guess my true potential was with all of it, I think my grandparents especially, like, they really believe in me, and all my parents do, and my whole family does. So that's been the biggest part, is just relationships and just the people. And that's the number one piece of advice I give to any of like people who just pick up a camera, students, parents, or whatever. I'm like, how do you differentiate yourself in this industry? Because anyone can just pick up a camera and click record and everything can look good. But if you don't have the relationships, then none of it will matter, because it will all fade away at some point.
Wow. So your conviction with, explain that to me, of like, you know, because you could have went to college,
Yeah.
and probably everybody was doubting you with your, you know, what are you doing? Because the traditional route is high school, college, get your job, get your 401k,
Sure.
your insurance, you know, and, you know, have a couple kids and white picket fence and a house and roll, right? So
Yeah.
I get a lot of questions from people in my gym, from teens to 60s and 70s, is how do you hear God?
Yeah.
And I want to know your answer on that, of like, as a kid at that age, as a sophomore in high school, and going through, as God spoke to me. I have so many people that ask me, the discernment and being obedient is listening and hearing are 2 different things. And how is it, a kid like you,
Sure.
like, how do you hear God, and you have adults and parents and grandparents and uncles and aunts telling you, what are you doing? And you're like, I'm listening to God. What does that mean?
Sure. For me, it wasn't, I guess, as direct as that. I didn't like hear a voice from God and he was like, yeah, you're going to do this video thing your whole life, or up until you're 21, where I'm at right now. So I think it was my thought process the entire time was like, he wouldn't have just thrown this on. I wouldn't have hurt my Achilles at the exact same point. I wouldn't have been told, hey, you need to take only 3 weeks off. And those 3 weeks were perfectly centered around our schedule to where I could go video those games. And I wouldn't have made that all of a sudden relationship with Bobby Mays. I wouldn't have all of a sudden had these people put in my life if it wasn't for that purpose. And people could just say that's coincidences, but like, in my opinion, there was a lot of them to just be that. And I think faith is just a big thing. Like, was it God the whole time? It's hard for me to say it wasn't, just because I'm so grounded. And I'm like, hey, I mean, and just how I shape my perception, it had to be God. Like, there's no other choice, because I wouldn't have had all those things line up and all the people that were put in my life and all the businesses and jobs and all that I've received if it wasn't meant to be. And I feel like if it wasn't, then there would have been a roadblock at some point. Now, I'm probably stubborn enough that I would have tried to just run through that roadblock at some point. But I think it was always a thing where nothing's going to stop me. And especially once I figured out like the path kept going for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, I just kept thinking, why stop now? And I feel like God would have put something into my life that made me stop if it wasn't what he desired it to be in the first place.
And where do you see this going at 21? I mean, 21 is like super young to be running. I wasn't running a business at 21.
It's the number one question I get, and it's the number one answer I struggle to give, just because I feel like every stage of my life has progressed so quickly. Like every year there has been something new. And I feel like this is the first time in my life where I can see kind of some goals, because now I have schools with 2-year contracts, 3-year contracts, so I have to be grounded some level. But I think I don't really know, honestly. Like, I think my life changes so fast. I always give the people, I go week by week. And I think it's always a thrill for me to kind of see where it goes. Just because at first it was just making mixtapes and cool highlight videos for kids. And then it kind of went into okay, now I'm working for the University of Tennessee, which was pretty fun. And then I was filming for programs and schools. They would pay me and contract me and all that. Now I have to worry about myself, the 3 contractors I'm paying, the schools signing contracts, the business side to it, taxes, which is a nightmare, which is so cliche until like you actually have to do taxes, and then it's like I don't know anything. And then so yeah, I really don't have like a strong answer. I mean, I think 7 months is where I'm at for Newton Creative right now. I think it's the longest tenured stretch I've ever done a certain thing. Like I did freelance for 2 years, but I was bouncing all over the place. And then University of Tennessee was only a 8-month stint. And then all of high school was just bouncing all over the place. So I think where I'm at, I'm comfortable, but I think that's always a thing that's made me who I am, is like I try to be uncomfortable in what I do. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you can get to where you want to be if you don't make yourself uncomfortable. And I think that's the only way to really push myself, not just as a person and like the relationships I'm trying to grow, but just my business. Like I have to keep pushing the boundaries to what I want to do. And that's honestly a struggle for me right now, because life's good, the bills are being paid, and I have a good amount of money rolling in, but it's also trying to figure out how can I take the next step in what I want to do.
Well, I could help you with that. It could be these two gentlemen, Ross and Griff, that could rip your new ass on that one about don't get complacent, because I got one last night and I got one last week. So in 2 words, I corrected a lady in the nurse room today. I was in the hospital today for some other personal things, and she said, my kid's just going to Pellissippi. And I'm like, let's not use the word just. Yeah. And she was like, wait a minute. And you just used only 8 months for the University of Tennessee. Let's 86 that. That means cancel in the restaurant biz. You were at the University of Tennessee, which was a huge accolade and accomplishment of doing that. So, man, I'm impressed, because I don't know anything about you, and I think the show's starting to pivot that way of like getting people on that we don't know about. And I could just tell the way you were texting the last week. I'm like, this bitch is a bulldog. I'm like, I'm trying to get a time. I'm working with 2 guys, that are all over the joint doing their things, and it's like we'll get this covered. And
I probably pushed it a little too much.
No, I actually no. I love that. It's no. That's especially with me and talking about complacency, and we just talked about that. That's God's word too, because I've been in that zone for a while now, and I got to thank these guys for waking me up for that too. So if you're complacent at 21, I mean, wow, no, you're good to go. So do you live day to day, or do you go? You got to have goals. You got to have a calendar. You got to have dates. So I don't know if you say vision boards or goal boards, or like, serving others,
Totally.
biblically is a thing that I think all of us are in this business. All of us in this room are about that, and I think that's the ultimate success. I listened to some podcasts this week about success is defined by saying you're going to do something, keeping your word, and doing it, and then you build those steps.
Yeah.
And
You're a big podcast guy, huh?
I love
Host one, listen to all of them.
all the time. Yeah, I have to. I was talking to Griff earlier about I'm addicted to self-improvement because I'm so freaking broken, and I've done so many wrong things in my life. I'm like, how can I get better?
Haven't we all?
Yeah, so it's like I love listening to, I'm a huge podcast guy. It's just, you check out and just, I do my thing in the woods, and which is mountain biking, by the way.
I completely cut you off also. So
Yeah,
that's on me.
no, you're good. and I just think that,
Goals.
well, the traditional route
Yeah.
is untraditional. It's always like, where's everybody going to school? Senior years, and Concord, for everybody that doesn't know what that is, that's Concord Christian School, and I know some people there, some good people.
Yeah.
The lady volleyball coach is Ho Chaver,
Yeah.
which I love, and the Ho Chavers.
She was the former coach there.
Oh, she's done.
Yep.
Okay.
She retired, I think, 3 years ago.
Got
4
it,
years
yeah.
ago.
Luke Ho Chaver's mom, which was a baseball player that I trained, and great people. So Concord Christian is, it has its base. I just. Where do you see yourself at 25?
Yeah, I think my biggest goal is to where I want to be at a point where I'm managing, and then want to be at a point where I'm also able to help the people that are under me. Now, that's a massive goal, and I know that's probably unattainable, but at least for right now, I've always had goals that initially are unattainable, and then just try to figure it out. And I think day to day, like I have a calendar, like my whole basketball season for this upcoming year is completely full. I don't have one date open. So,
And basketball season is high school, college.
yes. I do. So I have about 4 major high school basketball clients in terms of deliverables and money and all that.
What's
terms of our
deliverables?
contracts. So deliverables is a set amount of things that they receive based off how much they pay me. So it could be like, hey, we want to do your base package. Okay, great. You get 2 games from me, and you get game day graphics, and you get social media management. So basically, they just give me their login, and I run all of their socials and do all that jazz. That's not what that package is, but that's just like a base. So they pay me, and then based off how much they pay me, they can get X, Y, and Z out of me. And then we do. Yeah, I think that's just probably where I want to be. And then for basketball, high school, college, Carson Newman University is a big client of mine. Maryville College is a big client of mine. And then I'll do one-off stuff. So like I know the staff at Belmont University really well. Lipscomb University, I know them really well. So usually I'll try to do 1 or 2 games for them. They have their own department. All those colleges, they have their own like media people and SID departments. But they get so spread thin that usually they'll hire out a second person to come help them, or the coaches can hire people individually. So that's where I usually try to build those relationships during travel basketball season, where all the coaches are out recruiting and all that. So I'll usually try to make at least 1 or 2 connections with different schools each summer. And I know this, thankfully, the staff at Belmont and the new coach at Lipscomb University just got hired from Trevecca Nazarene. So I knew him from Trevecca. And that's also a thing, is like, you also never know where other people will be in 5, 6, 7 years. So I always try to make sure I always keep good relationships and never on bad terms with anybody, because you never know where that person will be in 2 years and who they might know to give you a recommendation. So, but I think me at 25, it's so hard to say, but I think it's just trying to make sure the people under me have the best experience possible, and to try to help better this area in terms of giving these kids coverage in a way that they deserve. And I think that was something, and me and my friend Drew Moss, we were the first people to start in this area doing like highlight videos for kids and stuff. And all these kids were like, oh, I wish you were around when I was in high school. Or all the Maryville football players, which is my biggest client right now, all the Maryville football alumni will always be like, man, I wish you were here. So I think I always kind of want to keep that same edge and kind of create FOMO, like the fear of missing out. Like, hey, if you don't hire me in my company, you're going to miss out on this, or you're going to not have this and all these other schools do. So I think it's trying to continue to grow my network base, and I think to try to continue to grow my school client list. I think that's probably where I'd want to be at 25.
So at 25, you want people under you.
Officially.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least one. And I think I'm pretty close to one. So that's probably a 22 and a half goal. I guess 22 is coming up February, so probably won't be then. But 22 and a half, probably try to get close to having one person full time.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Like, yeah. And I didn't know anything about you. And I love that once in a while of like, you always interview the clients that you have and you might know something, wow, I didn't know that. But
Sure.
It's kind of cool of listening to somebody. I think we had the mountain bike world champion rider on there a while ago that Freddie brought in.
Casey?
Yeah, Casey.
On the podcast?
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, she was pretty badass too with her story. But wow, I love it. And nothing great, nothing.
No.
It's
Everyone has their own path.
Yeah, I think you're very wise at 21. I don't feel like I'm talking to a 21-year-old. So
And I think that's just a thing where I wouldn't even say it's a compliment, but I think I've got that comment over the past 3 or 4 years, and I think it's just a multitude of things that just had made me grow up faster than maybe I should have. And I think I've just always been around people older than me, either through them taking me on, mentoring me, or just me being around older people. It's just, I guess, something I've always had, and always try to have a great deal of respect for people older than me and came before me. And I think my parents obviously did a massive job in that aspect. But yeah, I think that's a thing I've always tried to have a professional approach to, not just work, but life. Like if you just treat people good and you're obviously just nice to people, then hopefully it'll come right back at you.
Wow. CJ, man, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks
It was
for having
nice. It was really, really
good.
nice. One last question. Do you see yourself staying in Knoxville?
Yeah, it's hard. That's a question I've got a lot over the past month or two. Yeah, I think so. It's just really, my job is really based on my network and my connections that I've built. So it's, for me, and that's one of the banking on myself parts that it's maybe a con of it, is I didn't go to college. So if I've had numerous college job offers, but I can't take any of them because I don't have a degree. Now, the pay isn't I wouldn't take it anyways, but if I wanted to take another job or I wanted to go somewhere out of state, it would only be Alabama, really. I have a lot of connections in Alabama through the AAU club I work for now, Pro 1. It's based in Alabama. And I've met a lot of coaches through that and a lot of different high school teams, and then they'll give recommendations, and then they'll call me. So,
And AAU is
travel basketball.
travel basketball.
so
for everybody that doesn't know. Yeah.
Yes. So BMA's Elite, it's an AAU club.
Got
Pro
it.
1, it's an AAU club. A lot of Knoxville ones like Tennessee Impact. A lot of the big name guys from this area this past year played for Tennessee Impact. Trey Thompson, who just went to Iowa from around here, he was an Impact kid. So, and I think athletes are just getting better and better, obviously. So I think as the demand for instant gratification in just life now and social media and kids transferring left and right this day and age, I think that's a way of legal recruiting in a way. And I think programs and coaches are trying to capitalize on that momentum right now. And I've always said, like, I can't make up something for your program. Like, if you have bad people in your program and you're not about the right things, I can't help you much with that because I can't make a perception that you want become just a reality. And I'm not going to sell that and vouch for my company to do that. So, but I've always said, if you have really good people and you're about the right things and you have good stuff in your program, I can capitalize and I can really highlight that. And I'm really good at that. I feel like that's what kind of separates us. So yeah, staying in Knoxville as of today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But
I feel like I'm talking to a 35-year-old.
is that a bad thing?
It's a great thing, bro. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, we lost Ben. Okay.
Yeah, he's way over there.
Ben's out. Okay.
He's just like, check up on me later.
Yeah, he's gone. He's ready for the next show. I got it. All right, CJ, man, thanks so much. It's been amazing.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Really enjoyed listening to your story, and hopefully we get more of these, Griff. So, yeah, let's keep it going.
Yeah.
CJ, good luck. And you're gonna crush it. I can already tell.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, brother. Thank you. Damn.